This podcast is brought to you by Colonial Brewing Co., the legendary beer company brewed right here in Port Melbourne or in Margaret River.
The best brewery in Australia, mate.
100%, without even a doubt.
Unbiased opinion.
Biased and unbiased, I don't care. We got a whole new wall of them sitting next to me right now.
Yes.
Thank you for sponsoring the podcast and enjoy this one on them.
For those of you who may not know,
It's pros and cons time.
Mr. Smith.
Hey, who's that? David Zacka Parker Ruckus.
Wrong.
How the bloody hell do you say that? Pros and cons.
What is going on, everybody? David, who we got on today?
Daniel, we have a big guest today, mate. He's one of the original, I would say, ethnic comedian wogs. We had Sushi Mango on a couple of weeks ago, obviously, but they're now blowing up in Australia. And we have Joe Avati. Some of our listeners might have heard. He's from Australia, from Sydney, but he has blown up overseas back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Canada, I believe.
Yep.
Is a big
Montreal.
Big Montreal. So
Montreal's a big comedy town.
Yeah, so we're asking him about that. But yeah, Joe Avati, yeah. So ethnic comedy, situational kind of comedy or observing comedy.
Observational.
Yep, observational, get that right. Comedy. So yeah, great. He's a friend of mine. I met him a couple of years ago, Joe, and he's a legend of a fella. So
Now he's do we say world's only bilingual comedian?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
which
so.
is
He
interesting.
brought up the bilingual.
Yeah, but
I think he's
I
the
saw
world's
that
most.
online. The world's only first or only, I don't know anyway, but that's pretty cool.
Yes.
He does comedy in 2 languages.
Yes.
So there you go.
And I've also, I think I read online because we do extensive research here.
Wikipedia.
We do, we do, yeah. As of 2018, he had the fastest selling comedy show in Canada.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so that was, the record might have been broken between now and then, but that was what Wikipedia said.
We trust Wikipedia.
we
That's
do,
our number
we
one
do.
source of information.
Yeah, well, it has its resources down the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah,
that's
they're
right.
legit. Yep.
Well,
But
mate,
no, so he's a big comedian overseas. So he's broken the international market. He comes here in Australia and does stage shows and comedian shows here, and he's a big in the corporate world and does birthdays and weddings and that kind of thing. He does MCs, I think, for weddings. So it'd be interesting to ask him about all of that. But yeah, definitely way bigger overseas. He's massive overseas.
Yeah, be pumped to hear him talk about the journey of the comedy world, especially at the moment with COVID. And,
Yes.
And the WOG comedy world again. We've got a little WOG comedy niche that we keep throwing.
Yeah,
Who we got
that's
next?
great.
Nick Giannopoulos next.
Yeah, we
week, I reckon.
might have to get Nick on.
All right, awesome. Let's get straight into it.
Well, Joe, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. We appreciate you coming in.
No worries.
Just a little bit of background on yourself for our listeners. Just tell us a little bit about where you're from, your background. And
Okay. Well, I'm actually originally from Sydney. In a nutshell, I did food science at university because I wanted to be a rock star, and my dad said, "No, people from Calabria are not rock stars, mate. So go do something else." So I did food science. I got honours in that. I developed Magnum for Streets ice cream. But while I was doing it, I thought I can't be a rock star. So what can I do? I'll do stand up, and then I ended up being a rock star of stand up around the world. So I started doing that. Released an album in Sydney in 2000. That went all over Australia. And then in 2001, it just exploded all over the world. And I became really famous all over in America and Canada and England and parts of Europe and of course, Australia. And I've been touring ever since. So that's in a nutshell. There's a lot more to tell than that. But that's basically it. And I do ethnic comedy. So basically, Nick Giannopoulos kind of made ethnic comedy famous in Australia. And I took it all over the world.
Global,
so now there's lots of WOG comics all over the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
You brushed over, though, making magnums for...
I want to get back to
that. Can we go back to that? I mean, food science and, I made some magnums.
I think
back
you
in the day.
you must be the world's only and first food science comedian.
That's right. And in fact, I had a show on SBS called Food Investigators, and they Googled food scientist, comedian. And there's only one food scientist comedian in the world, and that's me. So I got the gig easily.
I mean, are there going to be any others? That's the.
No.
I think you're the first and last.
There's a lot of comedians who are lawyers, a couple of doctors, but there's no food science comedians. So I worked for Streets, and they were launching Magnum at the time. So I was part of so I had to do all the flavouring, all that kind of stuff, and it was fantastic. And there's all these women with my face on dartboards because of it. Because it's very fattening. Basically, it's full of sugar.
Do you still walk into a shopping centre or a what are the little milk bars
the
and
milk
grab
bars.
a Magnum?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I ate so much, I was over it.
Yeah.
Just over it. Yeah.
So what happened? So you'd completed your food science.
So I did my food science degree. So I did my normal degree. I won a scholarship while I was doing honours. That's when I started doing comedy.
Yeah.
And I just basically pursued it in such a way, because I never did physics and chemistry at school.
Yep.
I learned to play the classical piano and the guitar, taught myself. I thought, if I could do that, and I never did physics and chemistry, and I ended up topping the course at food science, I can do comedy. Let me just put myself to it. So I did it. I practiced as much as I could, watched the best, found out why they were the best, and within 4 years I was touring Australia, and within 5 years I was selling out stadiums all over the world. So that's...
So you were self-taught essentially, just by
basically.
viewing and doing your research.
Yeah, I never built a house. My house has won all these awards, design awards and stuff like that. So it's anything you kind of put yourself.
Yeah.
It's more a way of approaching anything. And come on, let's learn about shares. All right, give me a year, 2 years, and I'll be good at shares.
Yeah,
that's just the way I am.
Yep.
Yeah.
You mentioned obviously WOG comedy is such a Australian staple now.
Yeah.
We had Sushi Mango, the boys on
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they've done really well.
Yeah, killed it. And one thing they mentioned was that they're going to go to America and some touring.
They
over
want
there.
to, yeah.
And they want to. They didn't
Good
know.
luck, boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, they want to, yeah. Australia first.
One of
They're
the
doing
things
Australia
they
first.
mentioned was that like they're not sure how that audience is going to take it,
Yeah.
and you seem to be one of the people that were able to crack that and get that transition from what Australians understand as WOG humour and getting that over there. How'd that go?
So basically what happened was, so I became famous in 2001 through Napster.
Yeah.
So if you remember, so a lot of the guys now become famous on the internet through YouTube and through Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So when I started, there was none of this. It was just audio files. So one of my tracks was called Nonnu's Car Accident, which probably you wouldn't be able to. It's basically my grandfather has a smash with a Chinese guy, right? And he comes out and he says all this stuff that he wouldn't be able to say now.
Yeah.
Basically, and that track made me that 1 4-minute track made me famous all over the world overnight. Now overnight was about 6 weeks because people downloaded it because that was the precipice of when audio file sharing happened.
Yeah, well,
And,
it's funny you say that because I was looking at your live and what was it, live and obligado.
Yeah.
That late 2000s you dropped that as an MP3.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about LimeWire before, which was like the streaming that only existed started in 2000. So you were like at the precipice of downloading audio based comedy.
Yeah.
Now and then I assume like albums were a thing.
Right.
But not on streaming or downloading services.
Well, in 2001 and 2002, I had the number 1 and the number 3 comedy albums in North America on the HMV charts. So essentially, I'm the only Australian artist ever to have. I'm going to get this right. So someone told me, I didn't know. I'm the only Australian artist ever to have 2 albums charting simultaneously in the top 5 anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And they were comedy albums.
Yeah.
So on the HMV comedy charts. So I was number 1. Bill Cosby was number 2. I was number 3. Dennis Leary was number 4. And Seinfeld was number 5.
Yeah.
In 2001.
pretty good
2000,
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a better comedian than Jerry Seinfeld.
than Jerry
is what we've
Seinfeld.
learned from this.
Well, you've been referred to as the Italian Seinfeld before. Yeah.
So that the Americans,
There you go.
they didn't know how to pinch it up because, you see, ethnic humour, we've been doing ethnic humour for so long in Australia with the likes of Vince Sorrenti, then there was a film called They're a Weird Mob, and then came Acropolis Now, and then the whole Wogs Out of Work thing. Mark Mitchell did and Effie and all. So we've been doing this for a long time because it's an Australian thing to take the piss out of yourself. It's not an American thing or a Canadian thing. So when they first heard my stuff, they went, "Fuck, there's an Australian. First, it was funny that there was an Aussie Italian. They thought we're all just Crocodile Hunter and I mean, those things did great to put Australia on the map, but also fucked us up.
Yeah, stereotypes.
People are
away,
like, oh man, is there kangaroos everywhere? Yeah, buddy, yeah, there is. Yeah. On the Harbour Bridge, we've got to hit koalas to get them down. So we can, like, come on, mate. But that's the way they thought.
Yep.
So they never had this kind of comedy, and so all of a sudden, this taking the piss out of yourself which is an Australian thing, became big over there. Russell Peters used to come to my shows.
Love Russell Peters.
Because his the support act that I used was one of his mates. So Russell Peters grew up in Brampton in Toronto with a lot of Italians. So he knew all about all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And at the time, he was really big in South Africa, but nowhere else. Not that I want to put a disclaimer, because he and I have had this thing through the media over the years, and I've got to kind of be careful how I say it, because I've said it before. He used to come to my shows before he was famous, and some media take that as, oh, you taught him how to be a comedian.
Yeah, we'll make that a clip and put
Russell Peters was a great comedian on his own. Got nothing to do with me. But he used to come to my shows. Yeah. Going, fuck, man, how do you sell out all these guys? Because I used to do 2,000 people a night, night after night after night, like 18 shows in a row in 1 month in Toronto, just in Toronto. And he's like, wow, how does this happen? And then obviously he's gone on to be even bigger, huge all over the world, So it's fantastic. And that's how this ethnic comedy happened overseas.
Yeah. Amazing.
So why was it so successful in Canada specifically?
Because no one was doing it.
Yeah.
Like no one. There was no one sort of taking the piss out of themselves in a mass scale like that. But I had come from Australia where heaps of people have been doing it.
Yes.
It's normal for us.
Do you think that here it's relatable, and the WOG comedies tends to be received really well by the WOG community, the Italian and the Greek community love it, and that's the big. But did they love it because there was a big Italian and Greek community over there that understood it, or did they just like that you were taking the piss and funny?
There's a huge so back in those days, I used to do my show was bilingual. So I'd do the delivery in English and the punchline in Italian. Now I don't do that, but back then that's what it was. So it was only Italian. So those shows that I was selling out night after night were only Italians. Wow. They weren't Greeks. They weren't anyone else. Only Italian. And Toronto's got the largest Italian population outside of Italy. Wow. In any one big sort of city. It's about 1 million Italians just in Toronto. So and in Montreal, crazy. I've done 84 shows in Montreal over the years. It's just again, so many. I've toured all over America, all over Canada, and it's just Italians everywhere.
Yeah, it seems to be I think in America in particular, like the New York Italian is probably the only that I can think of relatively similar take the piss out of sort of style now, especially you got the young guys talking about their parents and their grandparents and stuff like that, because they have that similar, they all went to New York, they have that really New York accent, but they're Italian. Yeah. And so did that work really well there because of that, you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they'd never seen anyone do it, but now there's heaps of guys doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
So nowadays you see with social media and advertising, and it's very easy to get to a whole wide range of audience around the whole world. And we spoke about MP3 and downloading, LimeWire and that. So when you blew up, was it organic growth, or did you have to advertise and promote yourself?
No, it was organic growth back then. So it just went nuts on Napster. That's all it was, Napster. But in Australia at the time, Napster wasn't huge, so people were downloading on cassettes and recording on the cassette. Because that's why, see, kids today think they're cool because they download. We were the first downloaders on the cassette. I don't know if you guys, you guys are pretty young.
From the radio onto the cassette.
Right,
I did that. I did that.
And you had to hurry up and press pause before the DJ starts talking, right? Because you don't want his voice on there. Because the funny thing is, kids today have a download malfunction. So what? They go to Wi-Fi and they download it again. When we had a download malfunction, we had to go get the pencil to wind the tape back.
I showed, we had work experience kids in here once, and I had a tape player for some I think we had it as a prop for something, and they didn't know what it was. Yeah. And I was like, wait, you don't know what this is? Yeah. They didn't know what it was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Crazy. I used to feel when I lived in the States during that, probably the same time you were touring, actually, from year 2000 until 2004. Yeah. And we, I used to do film all the time, which is why I sort of started this now, led to this, I guess. But I used to film on a handy cam of of my dad's.
Yeah.
And then I'd want to put it on a tape, VHS tape. So I'd plug the VHS tape in, a blank one or one that I could write over, and then I'd plug in the recorder, the camcorder into the TV with your 3 plugs.
Right.
And then that's how I'd edit the video onto the camcorder. I'd press play on the video and then record on the VHS player, and then I'd stop it, and then I'd just move to the next bit. And that's how I'd edit my clips when I was like 12 years old.
I'll take technology these days, mate.
Yeah. So I know how you feel, like, although that's a little bit later in tech, I guess, the VHS player, but
it's a lot easier to get them now.
You did what you did. I was watching a documentary or an interview with Paul McCartney the other night, and he was just saying that he recorded recently a very similar way that he'd recorded back in the past, where you'd plug your guitar into one channel, do the guitar track, plug the microphone that's recording the drums into another track, and you put it all together. And that's how you did it. You just had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, the old school way.
Yeah.
So talk us through coming back to Australia, Il Dago.
That's right.
Yeah, the stage show back in Australia. Talk us through how that all came about.
So that actually was born I was touring New York 2006, and I thought, you know what? I've exhausted my market in Australia. How can I go from just being famous to Italians? How can I launch myself? And at the time, there's a guy called George Capagnaris who played Mimo on Acropolis Now, and Simon Palomares who played Ricky on Acropolis Now. And so they were kind of doing shows together, and I thought, if I team up with these guys, I'm going to piggyback on their audience and see what happens. And that's when it really started to blow up even more for me. And I thought, because there's been heaps of times where I thought, this is going to end, it's going to sort of taper out, finish off, and it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. And now because of Facebook, it's got even bigger again. But Il Dago was my idea to put all these guys together who had never been together before. And then all of a sudden, so I started getting Greeks coming to the show, and they used to say to me, "You're pretty good for the new guy." I wasn't the new guy. By then, I'd been doing it for a good 15, 16 years. But they'd never seen me. Even now, I still get people now going, "I've never heard of you. How come I've never heard of you?" It's just because of where, people now have heard of me because of Facebook and Instagram. Whereas back then they didn't have that. Like the Sushi Boys, they've blown up on social media.
Facebook was
and if you have a look at how many followers they've got versus how many we've got, it's because they've come along in this particular time. And it's the same as like back in the day when there was no social media, and like Eddie Murphy, he didn't blow up on it. He blew up on VHS and that. So we all blow up in different ways.
Dane Cook was, I think, the first MySpace comedian. I think he was a MySpace guy, and you'd watch him there, and then now he's like one of the biggest comedians in the world.
It's really interesting how, people have never heard of you, yet, are one of the biggest names in comedy as an Australian export. It's just really... And well, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
So was there a time there, because you said your dad's to have to study rather than blow up as a comedian. Was there any moment in time when he went, "Oh, fuck, like you're actually making a career in life out of this"?
I didn't get him to come to one of the shows until I was good. Then he came. And then he realised, because then people started saying to him, "Oh, I saw your son at the Comedy Store." It's like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? I've got no idea." He had no idea about it.
Wow. So you're just sort of doing it on the side.
And now he comes and he goes, "Oh, you should do this joke. You should do it like this." He gives me gags, But I get a lot from them now because, as I was saying off air, I've got engaged, married, and had a kid, all in 1 year. And
Whoa.
So,
COVID, mate. Does some good things to you.
Pump the brakes.
I've actually got a kid overseas. I'm not, and I'm not allowed to say where, but she's in North America. But we see her on a regular basis, and it's really funny because when I grew up, my old man was really strict on me. And I've just seen the changes in him and my mum. It's just, have you got kids? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I do. I have a almost 2-year-old and another one about to pop.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a 5-week-old and a 7.5, or she'll be 8 now soon. And when we go and visit her overseas, my old man's like, "I miss you." And I'm like, well, what the fuck did he just say? "I miss you." The only time my old man ever said "I miss you" is when he went to whack me on a duct. That is the only time. Right? And I'm like, they've changed. And my mum's the same thing. If my daughter put her hand on the glass and made a handprint, You know, like my mum's like if I did it, my mum would have lost her shit. I got to clean this disgraziato, get out of here now, kill you, come here. My daughter does it. That's all right. Come on. And I actually say it. I reckon it's the grandparents of today. They're the reason why these little shits are spoiled because they give our kids things that they never gave us.
Yeah.
You know, just little things like love. like even my mum was, I love you. Like, I've never heard these words ever in my life. Wog parents of our generation never told their kids that they love them.
Yeah.
You know, and now, like, it's what? Who are these people? You know, we were never allowed to. Whatever my dad wanted to watch on TV, we had to watch. We had no choice, right? He sits there and he watches Peppa Pig with my kids. Like, you know, who is this bloke?
Yeah, it changes them. It's the same as my wife's mum is Italian. She's Sicilian.
Yeah, right.
And everything I've heard, I've been, you know, in that family for a good part of, you know, 11, 12 years.
Yeah, right.
And they were all so strict.
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same. All the kids could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The couch that used to be wrapped up and you weren't allowed to sit on, I don't know, that's the play couch now. You
Yeah,
can do whatever you want on that couch.
Yeah, exactly. There's Luna Parks in mine.
Yeah.
You know, they just do whatever they want, paint shit, whatever they don't care.
No,
You know?
that's good.
So you're Anglo background, I'm assuming, or is it?
I'm Australian. I've got my mum is Irish background,
Yeah.
and my dad's English. Yeah, English, German, long part. German, but Aussie.
Yeah. So you're an IBM and Italian by marriage.
That's
really.
right. I said that to the sushi guys. I what did I call it? I said I was a woggle, which is a wog-in-law. Well, it's like a muggle, like a Harry Potter muggle. But yeah, you feel like you're part of it. We went and lived in not lived. I was there for 2 weeks. Felt like lived in Sicily for 2 weeks. Yeah. And lived with their whole family. Didn't speak English.
Yeah.
And saw where they lived. And her dad was my father-in-law was Maltese.
All right.
So and that's, you know, a massive no-no in this Sicilian and Maltese cultures.
So I want to ask you, this all happened in COVID.
Yes.
What work were you able to do during COVID? Because it seems like your life was taken up with other things.
Well, what happened was between March and September, everything was off, which was kind of great because I ended up just doing what everyone else did and took shit out of the cupboards and just rearranged the whole house and, you know, did the things that I've been wanting to do and never got a chance to do. But then I moved to Sydney and I worked solidly for 3 months because in Sydney you could still have weddings, but you couldn't dance. So and they had functions where someone was having a birthday, or again like a wedding or any sort of those kind of functions, but they couldn't dance, so they needed somebody to fill in that time. So I was actually really, really busy during like that the end part of COVID because Sydney was opened up.
Yep.
Here we weren't. So
were your main gigs corporate and
all
birthdays,
corporate,
weddings?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Are you on Cameo?
I am on Cameo.
Yes,
I am.
Spoke about Cameo the last episode.
Do you enjoy it?
I don't know. It's just not my. I don't know. It's just I kind of.
Zacka loves Cameo.
If it pays well, then
Do you like Cameo?
No, it's like it depends what mood you're in. And then all of a sudden you see the days and it goes, you got 2 days to respond, you got 1 day to respond. You
know how many free cameos I've done? Because I just, because you've got to be in the mood. I don't look good. I got a beard. I don't have to do my hair. But but no, it all sort of happened for me during this last year, which has been great.
Yeah, that's exciting. Do you see in the States in particular, they didn't have many places open that were, you know, allowing comedy, and a lot of people were moving to Zoom as Zoom comedy. Did you try anything?
Yeah, I tried 2. And one was for a sort of a corporate, and one was they wanted to do stand up. I tried; it doesn't work.
Yeah,
you know, with stand up, you really need to have that immediate interaction because it's all about seconds with stand up. You know, you'll deliver a gag tonight, and the timing of it tonight is different to tomorrow night, and it all depends on what I like to call the roar of the darkness. I don't like to see the audience if I can because I'm inherently a very shy guy. And you know, and the way to describe this is, I don't know, when you're a kid, when you're on your own in your bedroom, you're pretending to be a rock star. You get the tennis racket, start playing in front of the mirror, and you're jumping and singing and doing. Why? Because nobody's watching. Once you know that someone's watching, you're a little bit, you get shy about it, right? So when the lights go out and I can hardly see anybody, I shine more. You know, it's on a kind of, interesting sort of way to kind of to look at it. But that's what I like to do. But so with stand up, I call it the roar of the darkness. So the roar of the darkness tonight is different to the roar of the darkness tomorrow night, and the timing of the gag is going to be different. So with Zoom, when you're doing stand up on Zoom, it's a delayed reaction, and it's not. And that's so important. That millisecond, that 2 second delay can really put you out.
And I think the energy of the room, like people's like when you go to a show, it's like one of your favorite things to do is sit in a crowd in a comedy show, and someone else laughing might make you laugh.
Yeah,
and, like it's a bit of that.
And I've always wanted to know that. Do you read off the energy of the audience, and then does it change your output of the show if you don't feel like they're into it compared to if they feel like they're in?
100%.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, I'm on stage when I'm doing a solo show for the better part of 90 minutes straight, right? So you've got to then design your show depending on the audience, and you've got to kind of design it so that about 3/4 of the way through you just start doing some shit gags, not the worst gag, but you can't, because you need them to get their energy back, because then you've got to go bang up high, and that, I mean, I've been doing this 25 years, so I know how to do that. And doing a half an hour comedy set as part of an ensemble show or at a corporate, that's very different again. But solo show, you're taking people on a journey, and so you have to come out bang, 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 get them laughing. Right, got them. Then you start easing into other stories. But these days, I was sort of motivated by, because I used to do shows where, okay, tonight it's this gag, and it's that gag, and it's that gag, and every night was the same. And I started getting bored.
Yep.
So I watched Bruce Springsteen once, and I got really inspired by him, because no two shows are ever the same. And sometimes, I don't know if you've seen Bruce Springsteen, someone will hold up a bit of cardboard in the audience and of one of their favourite songs. He'll grab it, turn it around, show his band, talk for a minute because he knows that the guitarist has got to change guitar or the keyboard player's got to change whatever. Then do 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, and you got to be able to play that song.
Yeah,
right. And he'll just change it. He's got a way, Bruce Springsteen, of looking at his band with eye movements and nodding of the head. They know what's coming next. He designs the show as he's going. Yep. So that's what I've been doing for the last 7, 8 years. So I kind of got a whole 20 plus years of material in my head, but I kind of roughly know how I'm going to start and how I'm going to finish. But what happens in between, I don't know.
Yep.
And I love that.
You mentioned before you didn't let your dad see you until you were good, but and comedians always talk about bombing to learn and how much did you bomb, and do you still find that bombing is a part of what you do? Yeah,
so in the beginning you bomb a lot, right? And then you start to learn, what you've got to do. But you still bomb. I bombed at a corporate about 3 years ago, and I just knew it wasn't going to work because there's just too many people in the crowd. The room was just too, like it was a bus company. They could fill 2 double-decker buses in this huge, it was like a huge warehouse in Sydney. And I said to the agent, I said, mate, no, it ain't going to work. This is not going to work. He goes, mate, they really want you. So I named some stupid price. I said, yeah, no problem. Right, if I'm going to die, this price is worth it. Right? Yeah. Sure enough, get up there. No. Because firstly, the stage is so far away from the first seats because they use a dance. In comedy, it's called the comedy moat. So the further the way they are from you, the harder it is to grab them. So that was that. It was later on in the night. These were bus drivers. They just wanted to chat to one another. Yeah. 12 minutes into my show, the fire alarm goes off. Oh, thank God. You're happy with it? People started clapping like, get the fuck off, mate. We just want to chat. Stop talking.
That's brilliant.
And then you go the next night, do the same gags, and it kills.
Yeah.
Bombing just teaches you the parameters of what to do not to bomb next time.
With touring and kind of, like you said, kind of roughly where to start, where to end, but you're touring for a long time and trying to create new shows. How often do you turn over your content to then create a new show? Because audiences might repeat watch you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is really interesting because most comedians have to change their show every year if you're doing a comedy festival show. With me, it's kind of really interesting. My fans are really dedicated fans. They want to hear the same shit that I've been doing for 15 years sometimes.
Yep.
But I can't just do that because then there's a selection of people who are going to go, oh, we've heard this shit before. We want new stuff. So I have to figure out how to break that up. Now, it's a really interesting thing because if I start doing a gag and they've heard it, I have to be I could hear the crowd going, ugh. It's a slight thing, but it's like, ugh. I can hear that. If I hear that that's a big, and it happens frequently, then I've got to go into a completely different mode while I'm on there and completely change the show to go, right, these people want new shit.
Yep.
Right? So
that's an amazing skill within itself to pick that up.
There's a lot to the art of stand-up that I find a lot of stand-up acts don't actually talk about the science. There's a lot to it. But the thing is, you're going to be thinking on the spot. Or you got to be constantly thinking about, you got to deliver the gag, but while you're delivering the gag, where am I going next? Oh shit, this isn't working. These people don't want this. Or there's another thing that happens is sometimes I'll get a support act and I'll listen to the reaction to the support act. If they're a very touchy crowd, then I have to leave out certain bits.
Yep.
Like for example, I've got this bit about kids today. I say like it's too hard to be a kid. Kids today got shit to worry about that we never had, like peanut allergies, right? That we never had. And you never knew a wog with a peanut allergy. If we did, every second kid would drop dead when we go for a visit, right? Because it's true. Even if you tell them, oh no, look, my son's anaphylactic. That's all right. Give him a pocket peanuts. Mix that up in the water, right? And there's this gag that I do about ADHD because we never had that either. I go, you were just the idiot at school.
Yeah.
Right? So about 6-7 months ago, I'm doing this gag, bang, big laughter. Now I start doing this gag because of all the PC, and cancel culture. All of a sudden, you can feel the audience going, oh, no, mate, you can't say that. Well, why? 6 months ago I could say it. And there's some gags that I used to do 10 years ago that I can't do now, about my grandmother. Basically, it's my grandmother and grandfather fighting on stage. And my grandfather would just call her an idiot. Right? Because that's what my grandfather used to say.
Yes.
Wrong? I know it's wrong. You don't do that. But I'm just mimicking what he did. Back 10 years ago, right, when I used to do my grandfather, he used to turn around to my grandmother and go, Ma, shut up, please. Bang, bang, the whole place erupts full of laughter.
Yep.
That gag, can't do that anymore.
Interesting.
Same crowd who came 10 years ago. It might be new people or whatever. But you cannot do that gag anymore. And so you can see it, and especially now, you can see the changes happening week by week. So if it's a sensitive crowd, I now know I can't. So I can do the ADHD bit. I can do, kids didn't have ADHD. But okay, so the punchline is, if we had ADHD when we were growing up, the teacher would have said, "Oh, Mr. Avati, your son's got ADHD," and my dad would have gone, that's so nice. Then he would have given me a whack and go, not anymore. Now he's going to focus, don't worry. So I can still say that.
Yep.
But I can't say the bit about, when we, back in those days, he was just the idiot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got to say if it's a sensitive crowd, I've got to then listen to the support act, go sensitive crowd, and edit my routines as I'm going.
Do you think as well that people are starting to think about what they can and can't say on other platforms like your Netflix special or your TV special that you want, because that becomes now like the platform for people to go and stream?
100%. And it's kind of sad in a way. I mean, look, it's the intent, right? You can't have a go at someone for being gay or for being different colour or for that's just wrong, right? That's plain and simply wrong. But it's the intent, right? And the thing is, though, people like Sam Newman get into a lot of trouble because he just says whatever he wants to say, okay? Because publicly you have to say, oh, no, Sam, you can't really do that. But there's a huge silent majority of people that actually agree with him.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we had Sam on. And
yeah,
we had Sam on the pod early and that happened.
We did, yeah.
And he went hard in a few areas that we 90% of which we disagreed with as well. Yeah. And we copped it for it too, because Sam had his and some of it, you're right, some people I think disagree and strongly disagree, and then it becomes this cancel PC thing.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of people that think that he's this shining light of still keeping this.
To be fair, like and not get stuck on this topic, but there was 50% either way. You got messages after the pod. So some people love it, and other people hate it, and that's with everything these days. You're going to get that. So some people will come to a comedy show, and like you said, some audiences will absolutely froth what you're saying, and other audiences will go, "No, I don't like this anymore."
I think it's funny though with Sam because like he says some things, and some people go, "Oh, I agree with you, Sam," and then all of a sudden they latch onto Sam being like the person to then agree with all of your bad shit you say.
Yeah.
And it's not actually the case. Sam says some things and he's old fashioned and he believes some things, but he's also like, 75 years old? Like he has grown up in, like what you're saying, things that were fine then and now aren't fine.
Yep.
And I just think that he's a little bit misunderstood in some of the commentary he says. There's a lot of stuff we disagreed on, but I think that people think he's in this weird world of hate. And I don't know. Yeah.
So are you finding the pool for gags becoming smaller, or is more you just have to tweak, like you're saying,
you have to tweak it. But I got to look at also who comes to my shows. I don't get a lot of left wing greenies coming to my show.
Yeah,
it's an ethnic show. You know, people who've grown up the same way we have. They're kind of a lot more. The kid's got ADHD. No one just because we grew up with it.
Yeah, you grew up that way. Yeah,
Get over it.
They relate to it, right? Still.
So I don't get that sort of a crowd a lot.
Yeah.
But I also see one thing about me is I've been working clean, right? I've been working clean for 20 years. So I've already been editing in a PC way for a long time.
Yep.
You mean like swearing and stuff?
So I don't swear at all.
Yep.
Right? I don't swear. I don't talk about sex, drugs, politics, anything.
Yep.
What I do is just purely observation, like really family observational gags.
And you made a conscious decision at some point to go down that path?
So I get grandmothers coming to my show. I get 8-year-olds coming to my show.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get the grandparents, their kids and their grandchildren, and which is a really unique thing. You don't get that with a lot of artists. So for me, this whole PC thing, doesn't really worry me because I've never really done that anyway.
Right.
Yep.
I think Eddie Murphy's come out and said that some of the stuff he did early days, like in Raw and stuff, he cringes at and wishes he didn't do. And I think it's a time capsule of the moment in time that what was okay then and now it's okay.
Yeah.
Which probably should be just left alone.
Yeah, he was extremely homophobic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know, you've toured around the world. What's some of the best stadiums or the best experience you've had while touring?
Montreal's been fantastic. Toronto, I did Rod Laver, done 10,000 people at Rod Laver. That was great. Doing massive stadiums is a completely different animal again to doing 30 people or 120 people or 3,000 to 5,000 people. I know this is going to sound really weird or not weird, but I can do it with my eyes closed.
Yep.
Right? 10,000 people. Because that's why I was talking to the guys from Sushi because they're doing a couple of arenas. Yeah. They're doing their first arena tours now. And I sent them a few pictures and I said, boys, because I've got pictures of me back from behind me looking out.
Yep.
Right? And I said, this is what it's going to look like, guys. Be prepared. Savor it because you never know how long it's going to last for, right?
Yep.
And I hope, those guys have been they've done so well in the last few years.
Yes.
I hope that they get to be around for 25 years too.
Yep.
And I said to them, this is what it's going to be like. But to entertain 10,000 people at once is a different beast altogether because in a theatre of 5,000 people, there's generally not people. There might be 3 people to get up and go to the bar. But when you're in that sort of a huge stadium environment, man, there could be 300 people walking around, murmuring, talking, and that's really distracting.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just on your own. But these days they've got the camera, the videos, and all that kind of stuff, so it makes it easier.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different animal altogether.
Speaking of that and how distracting, and I guess doing a lot of shows in a row over a tour, it can get quite fatiguing. How do you kind of, away from that, refresh yourself to then ready to go, or do you just feed off the audience?
So there's a huge bit of energy that comes from you, and I've done a lot of work with energy coaches and wellness coaches and all that kind of stuff. And if you're feeling tired, one of the things that I used to say to them, because it was a majority ethnic crowd, is, "You proud to be Wogs or what? Yeah, let me hear." When you got 4,000 or 5,000 people, or 1,000 people, or even 300 people, all cheering, yeah. Then so you got to understand what we do. You're asking a room full of complete strangers to you, and most of them complete strangers to each other, to have a simultaneous involuntary reaction according to what you say. Yeah. That's when you think of it like that. So the words that I'm going to say are going to make 500, 5,000, 10,000 people at the same time all laugh at the same time. Heck, it's freaky when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
So when you've got that in reverse, when you've got 5,000 or 300 people cheering, it just gives you an energy. And so you'd probably know, because you played through COVID, right? And you've obviously played in front of 90,000 people.
Yep.
How much? I mean, you can answer that question yourself.
Yeah, no, we spoke about it on the podcast. We recorded earlier that it was exactly the same. You play in front of 90,000, and then you realise we played in front of an empty MCG for a couple of weeks in a row last year, and it's the difference is unbelievable. And our guest who had played in the UK for football and played, he's now Melbourne Victory here. He spoke about the same thing, that he realised once he came and played in front of the fans that really you play for the fans and that energy, and that's what drives you every single game when you get out there. And when you don't play in front of it, almost just feels like an exhibition practice game.
Yeah.
It makes the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you realise how much you appreciate the fans.
Yeah. And so that same way that the fans affect you is the same way that the audience affects an entertainer. You know, entertainment. So you can't have big nights going out on the piss, drinking and nightclubbing, and that's just not part of what you guys do.
Yep.
In the entertainment business, we've done that.
Yep.
You know, we've been out all night till 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes I've had to do a 1 o'clock matinee and another 7 o'clock. And whilst it's not physically strenuous, you know, you're pacing up and down doing stand-up, where you get really tired is mental, because it's a mental tiredness, because you're so focused on hearing the laughter and when to come in with the next gag. You don't really get heckled so much in what we do, but you know, someone will yell out something. You know, sometimes you got to, you know, like I because I got a lot of teenagers that come to the show, I like to take the piss out of them. I say your life is different to my life. You know, your generation didn't cop the beatings that our generation did, and yours is the generation that needs to be beat up the most. Right? So, you know, and it's funny how people laugh at that, but you've got to then also understand that sometimes somebody might bring a kid who isn't all there.
Yeah.
So you got to go, oh, okay, I'm not getting anything from this kid, move on. And you got to be sharp enough and focused enough to pick that up. Yep. So it's mentally, it drains you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you a comedy fan? Do you watch comedy, listen to other people?
No, not interested.
Yeah.
I only watch comedy if I've got to work with that act, or I've got to go, right, okay, is this person good to support me? I find it really hard to watch comedy and movies and stuff.
Because you critique it too much, or you just
kind of know what's
into
coming up, you know? And the kind of things that make me laugh is completely different to my show. The kind of things that makes me laugh is something that's like a Jim Jeffries. It's just so wrong.
Yeah.
But my show is completely the opposite to that.
Yeah.
You know.
So
Sorry.
Yeah. So you were self-taught, but do you now have you been approached by the younger generation to help mentor anyone coming up and coming through?
Yeah,
have
I
you
do
done
a
that?
lot of mentoring.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of what they call, what do they call it? Like script doctoring. So I'll watch the young guys coming up, and I'll go, right, see that gag that you did there? Move that word here, change that word there, get rid of that word, change the timing. Stop, take a breath, bang, then do the gag. Or how about you add this? So I do a lot of that. And a lot of comics don't do that because they don't want anyone else to get better than them. And I'm like, I always say to the people that I work with, I wish that you get to places that I never got, you know. And it's great. You have to have that. You have to empower the kids that are coming up. And like if I find someone, there are some ethnic comics who see other ethnic comics coming up and go, nah, and try and put a stop to them.
Yep.
Because it's their competition. And I'm like totally the opposite. I'm going, hey, bro, you're good. Come with me. Come on tour with me.
Yep.
And so they learn and they, you know, and they become better because we're always constantly looking for new talent, you know, and we're really looking for some really good female ethnic comedians. And you know, there's a couple out there where we really love to hear more. So if you've got girls out there who are, you know, who are wanting to do it, please contact us. Let us know. We'll give you a go. I had a friend of mine. She's never done stand up. She's never done it since. She wanted to do it, and we toured in her area. She lived in Bairnsdale, and I said, "Get 5 minutes ready. I'll help you with it." And she got up and she did it in front of her family and friends who came. She's never done it since, but she got that out of the way. And I was just a thrill to give someone that opportunity.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. We're gonna
Jump
our
in.
segment.
Yep.
Yes.
Jump
All
in.
right. Pros and cons segment. This is an easy one. We're gonna open it for it first.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be
Weigh the good with the bad. It's time for pros and cons.
It's pros and cons time.
All right, the pros and the cons. We're called the pros and the cons. That's our podcast name. Very easy segment. We've got 10 subjects.
Yeah.
You need to tell us if you think it's a pro or a con, and then we just talk a bunch of shit about it.
Okay.
Yep. Easy.
Number 1, pickles.
My wife is Polish, so pickles are good. It's a pro. It's a pro.
Oh,
My
it's a
life's
pro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. Are you a pro?
It's a con for me.
You're a con? You know what?
If I ordered burger, it was always take the pickles out.
I used to take mine out manually. I never used to
Yeah.
order it without. I don't know why I'm a weirdo. But my palate has
Changed.
matured, and I enjoy a pickle now.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the whole McDonald's thing. You got pickles, and you'd think, you know, they'd see that enough pickles being thrown up against their window. To go, shit, mate, maybe we should take them out. But there's enough people who like them.
Oh no.
Our American producer here, Annabelle,
She's gone from in the booth to producer. I love that.
She's
two F's.
She's the pickle lover. She loves a pickle. But Americans, it's an American thing. Get a pickle in a jar.
Absolutely. I ate pickles for lunch 10 minutes before you could.
There you go.
There you go. All right, number 2.
All right, number 2. The mum and dad ban.
Have you heard about this?
No, what is it? The mum and dad ban.
Ban.
Well, apparently someone's trying to, I don't know if this is a group of people or a singular person, but it was a news article that they're trying to ban the use of the terms mum and dad in schools.
I assume that's a con.
It's like, well, what else are you going to do?
I don't know.
You know,
B1 and B2.
I don't.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
No, me neither.
No, it's a massive con. I'm a dad. I'm a dad. I don't know.
Dad, yeah.
What else does
Oh,
my
what are you
kid
gonna-
call
oh,
me?
This is the lady that drives me to school. What
Yeah, this is
supposed to say?
this is my carer. Yeah, I'm not too
My
certain. of where
razor,
that-
my carer. Yeah. I
not
don't
too
know.
certain of where
Nah,
that's headed.
I don't know.
That's a massive
This
con.
is the guy that pays for my school fees. That's who.
Yeah, that's the
guy
one.
is.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of look like him. Yeah, it's funny that.
I think once they get to teenage years, they're not calling you mum and dad. They're just like, ugh. Like
Yeah,
they just sort of grunt at you. And,
Yeah, that's where it changes.
all right, Zoom stand up. I think we already know the
Yeah,
answer.
no con. Yeah, it doesn't work for
Didn't work.
stand-ups. Yeah,
Yeah. No, we'll go with that one. Cryptocurrency.
I don't understand it. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, so that's the whole vibe of it. Is like, but someone's just made a shitload of money with it. I can't remember, the Tesla guy, right? I think.
Yeah, Elon
yeah.
just bought like a.
He bought $1 billion and then made 1.5 billion in like a 2-month period or something like that.
So people are going, oh, if he does it, well, then there must be something right. So I think people are just jumping on this bandwagon of something that because we can't feel it. We don't know what it is.
Yes.
Money, we know. Okay, there's a $50 note. We can see it. We can feel it. I don't know.
We had a call from one of our good mates who lives in Noosa now.
Yes.
To tell me about his increase in one of the cryptocurrencies he bought today.
Oh,
Gave me
really?
a good call to have a chat about it.
But it's all about there's NFT now as well, which is non-fungible tokens, which is like digital artwork.
Yeah, right.
All that. So it's a space that's
crazy.
apparently meant to grow in the next 5-10 years.
All right, so what do you guys think about cryptocurrency then? What's it?
I don't know
pro or
enough
con?
about it either. I tell you why it's a con because like people like my mate that we're talking about.
Yep.
He told me to get on it and I didn't because I don't know enough about it. And now I could have made lots of damn money and he's made lots of damn money off it. And I just don't know enough about it. So I don't think it's a con. I think it's a pro. I think that anything that changes the establishment of the original things, that everything needs to be shaken up everywhere. And if banks and the way people pay for things is a way to shake it up, I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Well, it's a con for us because we're wogs. It's just cash.
Well, yeah.
What do you do with the cash under the mattress?
Don't invest in anything.
Can I hide it under my mattress? No.
No.
You'll have to get a digital mattress. Comedy festivals.
Great. Pro. Yeah.
Were you a chance to perform at the comedy festival this year? Or?
No, not this year. So for us, you kind of got to think: do I take part of it or don't? Because sometimes there's 200-300 shows, but there's 200 or 300 shows who are vying for media attention and publicity and so on. So sometimes it's better to stay away from them.
Yep.
Yeah, it depends what kind of show you do. But I've done the Montreal Festival, I've done the Melbourne Comedy Festival, but I've also had fights with both. I was thinking about this the other night. I must be the only comic who's told both of the directors of the comedy festivals to go, fuck off, basically. But,
Really? Yeah, okay.
long story. We won't get into it now.
Yeah. So semi-pro and con.
But for the most part, it's fantastic. They're great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll know the answer to this, but touring.
Yeah. Pro. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Have you got any coming up?
So now this year I've just stopped. I'm only doing corporates.
Yep.
Because it's just so uncertain, and you can only have 250 or 300 people in a room, and it's not big enough. So, and then what happens if we go into lockdown? We've got to refund money. You lose money in marketing. So no. But next year it's my 25th anniversary, so we've just booked now. As of May next year, like all the big theatres around the country.
Perfect.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Comedians in movies.
Great. Fantastic. Americans use a lot more comedians in their movies. So whereas here you might get a serious actor to try and play a funny guy or a girl.
Yep.
Whereas in America, they will go to their comedians and get proper professional comedians in their movies. So it's can only be a good thing. And you look at all the top stars in the world that you never know. Paul Reiser, The Nanny, they were all stand-ups.
Yeah, 100%. Kevin Hart, who's the biggest star in the world, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Stand-up comedy star.
Yeah.
Even Eric Bana was, he was a sketch comic.
Yeah, he was a sketch comic.
Yeah, it wasn't stand-up, it was sketch comic.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't have a huge Australian comedy film industry.
It's almost like you have to do it yourself. You have to fund your own independent movie and create your own movie.
But there are enough great comedians who can be great comedy actors in this country.
Yes,
so go for them.
Yes. All right. Hecklers, pro or con?
In my show, it's a con because I'm doing an hour and a half. I'm guiding the show. There's no need for heckles. It's just going to ruin the flow.
Yep.
So, but when you're starting out, you need hecklers.
Yeah. When you get one, do you then try and go back at them, or would you ignore?
Yeah, it depends on what they say, and it depends on where it is in the gag. Because if you've got a rhythm and you've got an 8-minute gag and you're leading up to a punchline, and if you stop and then go there and address it, it's ruined your whole flow. So sometimes you just got to, but and sometimes you get a heckle which is. I've had an epileptic fit.
Yep.
I've had a.
That's not really a heckle, is it?
That's right. All right. But I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
I'm doing this gag and bro, what's funny, man? There's nothing funny. Here's have we got a minute to tell a really interesting story? So I'm doing a show at Moonee Ponds at the Clock Tower Theatre, and I'm doing my show, and it's all dark, and I'm doing gag. When the punchline comes, I hear like a ugh. I'm going, geez, that's a strange noise. It's a strange laugh. And I'm kind of starting to get where it's coming from. And I'm starting to realise it's coming from the back, top right corner. And so the next time I do another gag, big laugh, bang, another, oh, geez, what's going on? Then I start to make out. It was a couple having a fight. I mean, it's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. He was waiting for a big punchline where people were laughing and yelling, and then he'd hit his girlfriend at the same time. And that's what I could hear was the hit and her reacting to it. It was appalling. And then obviously they went, the police got called, and you don't expect that at a comedy show.
Yeah, that's a weird.
Yeah,
that's a weird heckle.
Thing. It was terrible.
Weird flex.
Yeah, right.
But I'm thinking, what's going on here? Is this a laugh? Is it a heckle? Is it
That's pretty distracting.
Yeah. Anyway, thankfully the police got him and took him away. Yeah. Hopefully dealt with the idiot.
That's disturbing.
Yeah.
Sauce in the fridge.
What sort of sauce? Because you're talking to me, is it
tomato? I think tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce doesn't have to be in the fridge. I can tell you from my food science days, because it's got enough acid, it's got enough salt.
I love it in the fridge. So you're
okay. Yeah, right. So I like it in the fridge too, because because I like cold sauce on the hot sauce.
Yes. I'm a fridge.
Okay. Yeah. But you're saying from a science point of view, it doesn't actually have to be.
No. And all that's going to happen is because it's a lot of tomato sauce is very acidic. It's not going to grow bacteria. Bacteria doesn't grow in an acidic environment. The only thing that's going to happen is it's going to get mold. And if you do get mold on the surface, scrape the top off and you can use the rest of it.
I'm glad we are. Yeah. Not what I expected from
I've
the
never had
answer.
that conversation.
So are we
when we've had
all
the
sauce
debate.
in the fridge,
Yeah, we're all
people?
sauce
Is that
in the
normal? Are
fridge.
you sauce in the fridge, people? No, you're a sauce in the pantry, but Connor, our video.
Just make sure you
guy,
wipe the mold, please.
I think you know what I think it is. It's an Aussie thing to have sauce in the pantry. It's an Aussie thing because my family, like my mum and dad, have sauce in the pantry,
Oh, really?
but I like it in the fridge.
We've always been fridge.
I've literally never heard of anybody having their tomato sauce in the pantry ever.
Well, you guys call it, firstly, it's ketchup.
Yeah,
for you,
ketchup.
right?
Yeah, ketchup.
And let me just be clear that Heinz completely shits on any tomato sauce that's sold in this country.
White Crow is the best. Yeah.
It all tastes so
In
bad.
Canada, they sell the mayonnaise that you can put in Big Macs. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes.
Oh
I
yeah,
have seen that,
I've seen
yes.
people starting to like the secret
Special
sauce.
sauce, yeah, secret sauce.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, last one.
Last one. Conspiracy theories.
Con.
Con.
I'll tell you why. What I reckon. Well, I'm not. I can't speak for you guys. I'm never going to be at a level where I'm actually really going to know.
Yes. About any topic.
Did
yeah,
the Queen
whatever it
really
is.
kill Princess Diana? I mean, there was a whole,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a big one.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
How am I ever going to know?
Did we land on the moon? How are you ever going to know?
How am I ever going to be in any? I don't envisage myself being in any position.
What about
I'm
flat Earth?
Nah, there's no flats. There's no flat Earth.
Yeah, so we're off the
Yeah, Con. We don't believe it.
No. I guess it depends on the conspiracy theory. Like I like the
yeah,
alien
yeah.
ones; they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah.
But you know what they are? They're interesting. They're
Yeah, they're
just
interesting. No,
stories.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
religion. Back in
Yeah.
those days, there was no internet. People had to tell stories, and out came religion.
If you're doing it for a fun debate at a party, I love it.
Yeah.
But you're never going to find the answer, are you? So it's like if you're searching for an answer, then it's no
No,
point.
YouTube has the
You
answer.
rattle, you rattle your brain and you end up going around in circles.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for a fun topic in a debate with a mate, then why not?
Yeah.
That's a good segment.
There you go.
Well done. No, there's no closer.
No,
You're looking at
no, perfect.
we don't have a closer for it.
Yeah, because we got another one coming up.
Yeah, we
But,
do. We better, mate. Joe, it's been
Thank
amazing
you.
to have you.
Oh, no worries.
Have you
Thank
on.
you, guys.
Where can we find you?
Yes.
Social media channels, website.
Yeah,
What's
I'm on
the
the
deal?
Facebook, Joe Avati Comedian, or on Instagram. You can follow my house. My house has got its own Instagram page.
Your house has an Instagram.
It's got about 3,500 followers.
Yeah.
Wow. This is Joe Avati Home. Just go on there.
Okay, yep.
Have a look at that.
All right.
It's pretty quirky. It's pretty out there home.
And if
Doro
they-
knows. He's seen it.
Yeah, I bet
he
you
loves
has.
it.
Yeah. But if people want to book you for weddings, corporate,
Oh yeah, just go to
birthdays.
to my joeavati.com website and
okay.
yeah.
Check out tour dates if and when they come
Yeah,
based on
tour dates will be
COVID and
next
all that sort of
year.
stuff.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
man. Thanks so much for
Thank you,
Thanks
mate.
guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another good ep, and thank you to Colonial for sponsoring the podcast.
Yes, thank you, Colonial. Get on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe if you want to watch the podcast. Also, get on podcast app on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. Listen, give us a review, please.
5
and
stars.
Give us a 5-star rating.
I also got a bunch of messages this week because last week we said that people couldn't find us on Spotify. I reckon I got 10 messages of
Well,
people
considering
saying
I found us,
well, no, they got people saying
Come on.
we found you, no problem. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
so I don't know what you were searching.
Nah, it looks
Did
like
you
it's
put
been-
that in front of pros?
Looks like it's been fixed. It wasn't me. I never had a
just-
problem
yeah.
finding it. It was other people complaining. So not, and it was a lot of our friends actually, because maybe they're just technologically illiterate.
Yes. Okay.
No,
But yes, please do all of that.
there was a lot of people messaging, but apparently it's all sorted. So check us out, Spotify, yes,
Yep.
YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you want to listen to us.
Thank you for listening.
You.